Passionators? I'm back. It's been a minute. I've missed you guys. How you doing? For those of you who might be new, I'm Adele. I am the Chief Executive Passionator at Get Back to Passion. How you all doing? It's so good to be back. So I'm here because I made this post yesterday that you all really were very responsive to. The last time I checked, there were 85 comments to this post and growing. So yeah, I figured this was something you guys really wanted to talk about. And after reading a lot of the comments, I had some things I wanted to add, and it was just too much to write. So here I am. So I'm doing a little multitasking. See, so y'all can help me air dry this hair while we have this talk, right? I am it's still a little soggy, but it is what it is. I'm trying to get it together and be nicer to it. So I'm trying to stay away from the heat when I can. But yeah, I was looking at the comments and you all showed up like with real conversation, with real comments, with real feelings, with real experiences. And I just love it when that happens. That's why I make these posts, to encourage you all to talk to each other and to talk back to me. So I have a better idea of what it is you're actually interested in. So I even took notes. See this? I even took notes, and I rarely ever do that. So I wanted to talk tonight a little bit about what you guys said. And then I want to talk about what I'd like to add to the discussion. And if you'd like to go a little bit deeper after this, to give you just a little bit of news about something I have coming up. So when you see me looking down, I'm not being rude, I'm just reading. So, and if you have any other comments while we're here together, please feel free to comment and share the video with people who are also concerned about this issue and why it happens and what they can do about it. Okay? So, the original question, for those of you who might be new, is the title of this video. If there are so many who are, quote, spouse material, unquote, why are they still single? And right out the gate, one of the first comments that came up was about hostility, about game playing, about women playing so many games and men can't keep up. Right? I got 14 different categories for you guys' comments. So I'm going to go over these real quick, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about what was left out of the discussion, especially since I was specifically asked what my point of view was on the answer to this question. So here are some of the other options that we got. We got ego, the fact that people tend to think of themselves more highly than perhaps their lifestyle dictates. Also, I found haven't found spouse material. That is a common sentiment, very common sentiment. What I have found, though, especially in my work with actual couples, is that a lot of these people who have this idea that they're spouse material and they want to be married and they're just having so much trouble getting married. A lot of these people have, I'm sorry, my bangs are so long, but while they're drying, they're kind of in my face. But a lot of these people will tell you when they talk about their relationship history they will tell you that they have had people in their past who would have made great spouses. People who treated them well, people who were supportive emotionally and otherwise, people who were encouraging and uplifting, and they're still not with those people. So apparently, there's more to it than I haven't found spouse material. There's just more to it than that. The truth is, most people have found spouse material more than once that they passed by and didn't spouse until they did finally get married, or maybe they didn't get married at all. So that's not it. Too easy to get the benefits without the work. Now, that one is another one that comes up a lot. It's too easy to get spouse benefits without having to put in spouse work. There's a whole lot of house playing going on. People put so much value into being boyfriends and girlfriends and boo and bae and baby mama and baby daddy. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother video. But people try to make equivalencies between being a girlfriend or a boyfriend and being a spouse. And after personally having been single and spoused and now divorced, I can tell you from personal experience that there is no equivalency to marriage. It is or it isn't. Much like pregnancy, it is or it isn't. And the fact that we try to mix the two and blur the lines is part of the reason why we have so much chaos and drama in our relationships right now. Because we keep mixing terms that don't deserve to be mixed because they don't mean the same things. We have to watch our language when we're talking about these issues because we keep mixing meanings and we don't clarify what we mean, and we assume that other people mean the same thing that we mean just because they're using the same words that we use. That's something that I go into more in depth when I'm working with my groups and in my one-on-ones. But this is Facebook Live, so I got to keep it moving. Emotionally unavailable. That's another big one. And this is basically the chameleon. This is the person who pretends like they're really interested in being married and they're actually not, but they want the experience. They like the newness. These are the people who are usually what I call love addicts. They're really addicted to the feeling of falling in love, as they like to call it, which is really, to a great extent, biological. Like, what they're responding to isn't even the other person. They're responding to the oxytocin. They're responding to the endorphins. They're responding to this chemical bath that their brain is taking that is very similar to the same bath that your brain takes when you do illicit drugs. So to refer to it as an addiction really is quite accurate. And that's why decisions that you make in that state of mind usually don't work out once you sober up. The emotionally unavailable is the one who pretends like they want something that they really don't want, but they like the experience of pretending like they do. So they come off really good in the beginning and then they jet. That's usually how that happens. This next one is people don't know what they want. That happens a lot. People tend to have an idea of what they want. The problem is that idea is usually driven by the fact that they don't already have it. People usually want what they don't have, not what they do have. And that's why The saying, you don't miss your water until your well runs dry, or you don't miss what you got until it's gone. That's where that comes from. Because once it's gone, they don't have it anymore. So now they have space to actually want it. So after a breakup, that's when a lot of times the romance gets turned on ultra high because we're trying to convince them to come back. But once they come back, they go right back to what drove them out the door in the first place. And they typically do it a lot quicker. That's usually why going backwards doesn't typically work. Again, the brain chemistry kicks in, and so does the force of habits that we've been creating for our entire lives. So 30 years in, 40 years in, 50 years in or more, this habit is entrenched unless we make the effort to uproot it. And most people just don't do that. They don't think about what they're doing deeply enough to actually do that. So they just keep doing what they've been doing because they've been doing it. Moving on, I got a lot of these to get through, and I'm not trying to keep you here all night. Too many options. Thanks to social media. Thanks to this gadget that we carry around with us that's right next to us all the time. And because we can swipe left, swipe right, up, down, whatever, anytime we get ready to, we have this illusion that we have all these options. The truth is that just because you see a lot of pictures doesn't mean you have a lot of options. Just because you can slide into somebody's DMs anytime you get ready to does not mean you have a lot of options. It just means you have a lot of access. And access on that level is not enough to make a relationship. You cannot build a relationship in somebody's DMs. You can't build a relationship by text. You can't build a relationship by phone. I know a lot of people think they can. And I'm not saying that you can't build connections that way. But a relationship isn't a relationship until it's happening in your life, until it's happening in your face, until you're living with it, until you're making your day-to-day around it, until they're present with you. It's not complete. That's the aspect that's missing from all these online I'm so deep in love with you relationships. You may communicate well, which is a great thing, and it's going to come in very handy when you are together. But anybody who's tried to build a relationship online knows that once they got together, it was a very different thing. And that's because once you get together, you've actually got to deal with each other as entire people and not just images on screen or sound files. You have to deal with them in 3D. Now, if you can do that successfully, then you've got a real relationship. But until then, you're just pretending. You're having fun, you're playing games, and that's cool. But if you want something lasting, then you're going to have to get together. You're going to have to get eye to eye, face to face, and figure it out from one day to the next day. And guess what? There are millions of couples who are doing exactly that. They're just not the ones you're typically going to see on social media unless you really go looking for them. So I suggest looking for them because it's really great to watch them. Just watching how they are with each other energetically. You can see the difference. And you can see the difference if you're paying attention anyway. You can see it. Moving on. Not willing to settle. This is the whole knowing your worth thing. And I know it's popular, right? I know that's the rule rather than the exception. But I'd just like to add something else to be considered. We all go through a process as we're growing up where we're exposed to things that we absorb as truth. We refer to that as the formative years, typically between 0 and 7 years old. Whatever whatever happens around you during that part of your life gets accepted into your subconscious as truth because you don't have the capacity to question it. So everything that goes in as this is true, this is normal, this is what's supposed to happen, right? Then after 7, you just start repeating it because that is now your program. And since you have all these people around you that support that idea, because they're the ones who gave you the idea, now it's easy for you to repeat it and you start to believe that it's your idea when it's really not your idea. It's you repeating an idea that was given to you by the people who were responsible for you. And the truth is, a lot of those people have some really toxic relationship habits, but they don't do anything about them. They don't try to change them. And they just keep doing what they've been doing as well. So you grow up feeling like that's what relationships are supposed to look like. And that's why when you leave home and you try to make your first relationships outside of your home, you try to duplicate what you grew up with, even if what you grew up with hurt your feelings, made you scared, you didn't understand it, you felt unstable. Any of those things, they become your blueprint for what relationships are supposed to look like. Here's the rub. They don't have anything to do with how you see yourself. How you see yourself is another issue. It's a separate issue. It doesn't have anything to do with what you grew up with. Why? Because you didn't have any choice about what you grow up with. You have all the choices about how you see yourself. That's the big difference and the disconnect that doesn't get talked about enough. Because at any point in your life, you can change your view of yourself in an instant. It's just a decision to focus in a different direction, to believe something different about who you are and how you are who you are. You can change that anytime you get ready because it's happening between your ears. Nobody outside of you is doing that to you. That's a track that keeps running in your head. That's a hamster wheel that keeps spinning between your ears. So you can change that at any time. What you didn't have any control over and what you couldn't change was what you grew up with. You didn't have any control over that. That was something that was just surrounding you, that you absorbed as this is how life works. Because that's what we all do. That's how our brains are programmed to learn. So unless and until you grow up and something or someone interrupts that pattern and starts to ask the question, why? Why do I do this? What does this mean? Where did it come from? Most importantly, is it getting me the result that I really want? Is it getting me the love that I really want? Is it getting me the relationship that I really want? Is doing what I'm doing getting me closer to what I really want? Or is it just keeping me on this hamster wheel of what everybody expects from me? So that's the critical question between somebody who's doing their work and somebody who isn't. And it doesn't have anything to do with your worth. It's a conscious choice that you make. How you see yourself, you can change at any time, for better or worse, I might say. But again, that's something I go into deeper with my groups and my couples and my singles. And this is still Facebook, and I gotta let you all go soon. So, moving right along, Uh, Unresolved issues from the past. This is trauma that, or hurt, pain, fear, that you haven't processed in a way that you don't keep repeating it or trying to carry it with you or expecting your new relationship to heal for you. That's what that means. Unresolved issues from the past. You keep bringing your past into the present. You keep living your present in past tense based on past experiences. And you refuse to be present in your current relationship. So you're judging your current situation, you're evaluating that situation based on what's already happened to you before they ever even showed up. And in a lot of instances, that is exactly why relationships come apart much sooner than they might if they just had a fair chance to be who they are to each other, instead of coming in with a lot of assumptions about what's going to happen, what's supposed to happen, what will ultimately happen. Next, I'm trying to keep this moving, y'all. I keep attracting the wrong partners. Oh my goodness. This was where one of the biggest discussions broke out under this post. Again, the post, for you new people, thank you for coming in and watching, is if there are so many who are spouse material, why are they still single? And this answer was, I keep attracting the wrong partners. But I have to say, under this string was one of the most powerful responses out of all 85 comments. Because in that one sentence, she said the truth about the situation for 90+% of people who find themselves in this situation, right? She said, and I quote, I haven't made good choices and don't really trust myself to find a good mate. I really could have shut it down after that, but I figured people still had stuff to say. Because when you get down to, yeah, I know, I'm doing me. I'm doing me. I've done all that before. It didn't work. People are out here playing. They're not serious. They're acting like they're serious, and then they get in, they do the Jekyll and Hyde thing, they do the bait and switch thing, and I just keep attracting these people who don't have anything to do with what I actually want. And how do I stop attracting these people? That is a really common complaint, and people ask it with such, oh my God, if I attract another loser, I may just have to end up in an orange jumpsuit. Well, it's not that deep. It's not that serious. I hope by the end of this video tonight, you'll have at least a slightly different perspective. Let me point out a couple of things. Now, I'm definitely going to point out a couple of things about that. But the first one is, you don't attract what you want. You don't attract what you are. You don't attract what you deserve, what you desire, what you wish. Well, Eden, what do we attract then? You attract what's attracted to you. You attract a lot of things that don't have anything to do with what you want, with who you are, with how well prepared you are for a serious relationship. You attract all kinds of things that don't have anything to do with any of that. For example, if I have, I don't know, a favorite ring, right? And my ring is in a pile of iron shavings. The ring is somewhere in the middle. I can't see it, right? And I'm given a task to hold this magnet. I'm just supposed to hold this magnet and point it at the pile of iron shavings to get my ring. I can't just reach into the pile and pull it out. I have to use this magnet to draw the ring to me. So I do. And I get the ring. I also get everything else that's surrounding the ring. Why? Because they're responding to the magnet. Who you are, how you are, your spirit, your radiance, your soul, your brilliance, your intelligence, your humor, your everything that makes you who you are is magnetic. And it draws all kinds of things that don't have anything to do with what you actually want out of everything that is being drawn to you. That's why so many people are attracted to you. But in your entire lifetime, out of everybody that you date, there may be 2 people, maybe 3 if you got a generous life, who are actually compatible to share your life with you. Maybe 3 out of everybody you've ever dated. Why? Because attraction and compatibility, 2 different things. And most of the people that you are attracted to are not compatible for you. I know it sucks, but it's true. And we have this idea that for some reason we're supposed to have hundreds of fabulous choices available to us that we can turn down at any given moment in order to get the one. And that's not how life works. The truth is, most people that you will ever date, relate, connect, have a relationship with are not compatible to share your life with you. And until you're willing to walk away when you see that, instead of trying to change it, instead of trying to justify it, instead of trying to rationalize it, instead of trying to make sense out of what doesn't make sense, instead of trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, instead of trying to give them a chance to be, again, what you know isn't what you want, then you are going to continue to stay on that hamster wheel of, I keep attracting these losers. The truth is, you attract a lot of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with you. But from all of those people that you attract, you select what you expect. You attract what's attracted to you. What you choose to engage with, what you choose to get into a relationship with, what you choose to share your life with is what you expect love to look like. It's what you learned in your formative years. It's the pattern that you've been repeating since you left home. It's what fits your belief system, whatever that is. If you believe that there are no good women, if you believe they're all gold diggers and whatever, then those are the women that you're going to select out of everybody that's attracted to you. And in those people who are attracted to you will guaranteed be at least one woman who would have made a wonderful spouse for you. But you didn't select that because it wasn't what you expected. You didn't select that because you didn't expect that. Your past experience doesn't show you that. You don't have any real life in a relationship experience with somebody who actually would be a healthy partner for you. That's why you don't have the expectation. That's why you don't recognize it when you see it. That's why you don't select that. There aren't any good men out here. They all cheat and they pretend and they just want to spread their seed until they dry up, and then they want some woman to take care of them. That's not what's happening either. I mean, sure, it's happening, but it's not most men. But that's what you expect. So of all the men that are attracted to you, there's at least one man who would have made a wonderful husband for you. But you selected the one who wouldn't. And when you figured that out, you didn't walk away. You stayed there and tried to make it work. Why? Because that's what we're conditioned to do. That's the conditioning that comes along with being a woman in America. We are conditioned to tolerate, put up with all that stuff because since we were 5 years old, we've been playing with baby dolls and we've been playing house and we've been planning our wedding and we've been doing all of these things that make us feel like we're playing a role that we're going to have to play in real life later. Men don't have that issue. That's not their conditioning, especially not in this country. But that's another video. This thing that women have in particular to keep working at, that's not feeding us, that's not working for us. It's not feeding our souls. It's draining us. That's why we have a lot of the health problems that we have. Again, that's another video, but it's something that I go into deeper when I'm in my groups. Suffice it to say, you attract what's attracted to you. Not what you want, not who you are, not what you deserve, not any of that. You attract what's attracted to you. What you select is what you expect. And until you get to the point where you are willing to walk away from anyone or anything that doesn't fit what you know you require to be happy, then you'll never have room in your life for the one person who actually could be compatible to share your life with you. I'm coming back to this. Put a pin right there because I've got some more options here. Okay. I keep attracting the wrong partners. People listen to unhappily married and badly divorced people all the time. A lot of them have some of the biggest channels on YouTube. Some of them have the biggest social media platforms, the whole anti-marriage, anti-relationship, relationships suck, all that stuff. They have the biggest followings. Reality TV is some of the worst stuff that ever happened in relationships in America, right next to porn. This isn't accidental, but it also doesn't reflect real life. It's entertainment for a reason. And the reason isn't even to entertain you. The reason is to show you commercials. The reason is to sell you stuff. Stuff you see on TV is only there so that the commercials have somewhere to go. It's not there to entertain you. It's there to keep your attention long enough to show you commercials. So what you see on TV isn't real. It's just there to put you in a trance so ideas can be implanted into your head that govern your buying decisions. It doesn't have anything to do with entertaining you. Different discussion, I know. I keep digressing. I've been gone for a while. I got a lot of catching up to do. So, yes, people listen to those stories. But if that's all it takes to keep you from committing to someone who actually would be a supportive and healthy and loving partner to you, then you are not prepared to be in a marriage anyway. Even though you may think you are spouse material. And let me just throw this in before I get much further down the road. It takes more than wanting to get married to be spouse material. You know, a lot of people really believe that they're spouse material just because they want to get married. Gonna leave that there right now. Okay, this was one of my favorite ones. Men don't benefit from marriage, so they pass it by. They just want fast money, fast cars, and fast women. And marriage doesn't fit into that at all. Okay, there are absolutely men who believe that and who live that way. However, there are several things that also need to be considered. The truth is that the wedding industry exists because men ask women to marry them. That is the bulk of the wedding industry. No matter what you see on social media or on the internet, men still do the most proposing. They still do that. Men still do that. Last year, as in 2018, the wedding industry in this country, not globally, the wedding industry in this country was $72 billion. That's billion. There are men getting married. Let's be clear about that. There are men who see benefits and advantages to marriage, which is why they continue to propose. Otherwise, the wedding industry would disappear. Now, as for they want fast cars, fast money, fast women, maybe they do. And I'm sure many of them have all of that. But eventually they get to a point where they want to be married. How do I know this? Because the men with the fastest cars and the biggest wealth and the fastest women and the most success and all of that are typically married men. Forbes 400 comes out every year. That's the Forbes list of the 400 wealthiest people in America. Most of the men on that list are married. The movers, the shakers, the power brokers, the influencers, the behind the scenes masters that make everything happen the way it does, most of those men are married. And even for the ones who may not be currently married, they were married when they were building their fortunes. They were married when they were laying their foundations. They were married when they were creating their legacies. So this whole idea that men aren't interested in marriage, I'd like to see the evidence of that, because if all you have is a YouTube channel to show me, then yeah, not quite enough. Moving on. Narcissistic pretenders are everywhere. That is an increasing problem. Narcissism is actually a clinical diagnosis that most of us aren't trained well enough to make. However, it does come with a particular set of behaviors that we do see with increasing frequency these days, especially since entitlement has become the exception rather than the rule. Narcissistic pretenders are basically people who morph into whatever it is they believe you want, whatever it is that will make you most vulnerable, whatever it is that will make you hold on the longest. And it comes with a couple of other things that are a little bit involved that I get into when I go deeper with my groups, when I have more time, when I have more space, and when I don't have the Facebook police hovering overhead so I can actually speak freely. But yes, this is a huge issue. Again, you have to be willing to walk away. You have to be willing to walk away. You have to be willing to walk away whenever you are not getting the relationship that makes you a better person. When you are not getting the relationship that serves you instead of hurts you, you have to be willing to walk away. Moving on. Men spend their best years floating around, and then they expect women to take, they expect committed women to take what's left. I touched on that briefly already, so I'm not going to stay here for too long, but men are conditioned to behave that way. It's societal. It's what they talk about in their locker rooms and in their barbershops and around the water cooler. And yeah, they're conditioned to do that. And there are still a lot of men who want the marriage. They want the commitment. They want the family. They want everything that goes with the family. True, there may seem like more that don't. But the truth is that there are just some who don't want it right now. Because most of them that don't want it right now will want it later. Most of them that aren't a lot of them that aren't available for it right now is because they're already in a relationship. But with the divorce rate being what it is, they'll be available again. Multiple marriage is not unrealistic in this society. And most men who've been married before will get married again. Just like most women who've been married before get married multiple times. So just because they're not available to you now doesn't mean that they won't be available later. Also, not everybody wants to get married at the same time. So these statistics that people keep throwing at you about there's so many more available women than there are men. Well, yeah, but everybody's not trying to get married at the same time. So this seeming disparity really isn't as bad as people try to make it out to be. It's not as big as people try to make it out to be. Moving on. We only want what we want until we get it. Then we want something else. Unfortunately, that happens a lot. But that's what you get when you make decisions that are largely based on what feels good to you. As long as your emotions are in the driver's seat of your relationship life, your life is going to be chaos and pain over and over and over again. When you start making choices about what it takes to share your life with you, you have to turn your emotions off and make it make sense logically. Because love really can make sense. Your life has to make sense. Love isn't supposed to come in and disrupt your sanity, your serenity, your peace of mind. If it doesn't add to it, then it's not really loving. Love doesn't require you to upend your entire world in order to jump through hoops that somebody else puts up for you in order to prove that you love them. That's not love. That is manipulation. Wrapped in romance. Dipped in sex. But it's not love. So when you really want love, you have to do what love requires. Different story. Okay, no experience with healthy, happy relationships. That is the case for most people, especially since there's been this onslaught of single parenting for generations. If you grew up with a single parent, then chances are you didn't get to see what a healthy, happy relationship looks like during your formative years. So your relationship blueprint doesn't have that in it. So you grew up in that environment, you left home, and when you started creating relationships of your own, you started repeating what you learned at home. Now, the good news is that even in that instance, you can rewrite your patterns. You can rewrite your thoughts and expectations about what a real relationship is and how to make it work. And the fact is that there are millions of people who came from single parent families who later made happy, healthy marriages. You just have to be willing to do what it takes. You have to take fear out of the driver's seat and let your logic make the decisions. Let your emotions do the feeling, and don't mix them. Don't have your emotions thinking for you, and don't have your logic feeling for you. And there are several ways to do that. Talk about that with my groups. Moving on, impossible expectations. Those are the things that get set up in your family of origin. That's what happens. And that's why you have these ideas that you have about what relationships are and what you expect from relationships. If you expect that you're going to be hurt, if you expect that you're going to be lied to and cheated on, if you expect that you're going to be used and misused, then that is what you will create for yourself, even if it's not there. You attract what's attracted to you. You select what you expect. If you expect all those things, you will turn your situation into that, even if it's not what it actually is. Good news is, if you change your expectations, you'll also change what you select. And when you do that, you can establish a whole different love story. You can establish a love story that actually is loving to both of you. A love story that you'll be happy to write. A love story that you'll be even happier to live. And it's a lot simpler than most of you think it is. But you have to be willing to do something different. Too many of us want our relationship to change, but we don't want to change our relationship. Another discussion, different time. Moving on. Okay. Horrible communication skills. Yeah, that's another really big problem. Horrible communication skills. We have this idea that people can read our minds, so we don't need to communicate what we mean. Or that because we're using the same words, we mean the same things. And neither of those things is accurate. Just because I say I love you doesn't mean the same thing as you saying you love me. That's how we get stuck in these situations where, yeah, I want a spouse, but are you ready to be a spouse? Scratch that. Not are you ready, are you willing? Because the truth is, most of us aren't ready. But we do things that we aren't ready to do all the time, just because we were willing to do them. Any parents watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. Because, yeah, even those of us who were prepared for the arrival of our children, we weren't ready. We were not ready. We figured it out from day to day, sometimes from moment to moment, because we were willing to do what was required to be a caring, loving parent. Not because we were ready. Truth is, we never got ready. We just did it. You can do whatever you're willing to do. Ready is fiction. Because chances are you probably won't be ready. You can get prepared. You can learn some things. You can study. You can even put yourself in situations where you see other people doing it the way you would like to do it. But the truth is, you won't know what to do until it's actually time for you to do it. For you. You have to fix some things are just on-the-job training. And parenthood is one of those things. So are relationships. But if you're willing, it can be done. And it can be done well. And you can be happy you did it. Moving on. Just two more. You're unwilling to change. We want our relationships to change, but we don't want to change our relationships. This is what happens when you get locked into a pattern. Most of us are still having relationships like we did in high school and in college. We're having relationships the same way. We're making our choices the same way. We're expecting the same things. We're doing the stuff that we did when we were teenagers and in our 20s, and we're expecting it to work in our 30s and 40s and 50s and beyond. And when it doesn't, we get mad at them because we want our relationships to change, but we don't want to change how we relationship. We have to change how we relationship, even if we stay with the same person. I've worked with several people who got married very young, and now their children are grown and gone, and they're doing the empty nest thing. And one of the biggest complaints I hear is they change so much. It's like, yeah. Yeah, they did. But that's what being married is about. It's not about having the same relationship for your whole life. It's about reinventing yourself with the same person for your whole life. Because you're going to change with the passage of time anyway. And so is your spouse, so is your mate, so is your partner. They're all going to change. The question is, will you still be willing to change together instead of just changing at the same time? Meaning, will you change in the same direction together? Will you change in a way that actually grows your love for each other? Will you change in a way that actually builds a long-lasting destiny together? Or will you change in a way that's chaotic and painful and fearful and frustrating? That's a choice. That's not a feeling. It's a choice. It is not a feeling. It is a choice. It is not a feeling. And the last one is that most people can't even date well. Most people don't get past 2-3 dates, but they want to get married. And that goes back to not having good relationship skills, not being social because we're too tied to our devices. We look for ways to be angry. We look for ways to be offended. We look for ways to be mean. We look for ways to be uncaring. We look for ways to put each other down, and then we expect the response to be, take me, I'm yours. And it doesn't work that way. And so we're carrying around all this hostility that's misplaced onto whoever comes up next. That whole unpacking your baggage thing, I see that meme all the time, and I promise you I want to put a big red circle and a line through it. We all come with baggage. Just find someone who loves you enough to help you unpack. See, that's how we romanticize dysfunction. That is not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is, I've unpacked my baggage. Meaning, I've resolved this issue in a way that it's not going to come back and bite you. That's what unpacking your baggage is. It's like, yeah, I had all this stuff go on before you showed up, but it's cool because I did my work and I got it all figured out so that it's not going to come back to bite you. I'm going to keep all of this away from you. Now that you're here, I'm going to stay present with you, and I'm not bringing any of this with me. That's what unpacking your own baggage is. And that is what you do if you really want to be loving to somebody else. That is an act of self-love. Self-love is what has to happen before you can make a happy, healthy relationship. Again, something I go into much more deeply in my groups. So, now that we've talked about if there's so much spouse material running around, why are they still unspoused? It's because of primarily fear. People don't want to get hurt. They go into relationships instead of being willing to open their hearts because they have unrealistic expectations. They expect relationships to last forever. They don't. Even in the best of circumstances, one of you is going to die first. So relationships don't last forever. Everybody in your life is temporary. You are your only permanent relationship. Everybody in your life is temporary. You are your only permanent relationship. Everyone else is passing through, no matter how much they love you or how much you love them. You came here with everything you needed to be exactly who you were, and there was nobody else with you. There was a reason for that. You even got disconnected from your mother, the one person that you did need for those 40 weeks. You even got disconnected from her. So if you don't need her anymore, surely everybody else in your life is optional. They are there because you want them there, because you do what it takes to keep them there, because they want to be there with you, but they are passing through. They are not guaranteed. They are passing through. So the question then becomes, will you love them anyway? Will you love them anyway? Will you love them while you have them? Because truly, that's all any of us ever gets to do. Even in the best of situations, even in the happiest of couples, they have to wake up on the daily and choose to love each other today. Again, fully, not holding back. That is a choice. It is not a feeling. It is a choice. It is not a feeling. So if you decide that you're afraid and you're just going to hold back and keep your heart small, it doesn't have to stay that way. You really can build a bridge instead of a wall. If you want love, you're going to have to build a bridge between who you are now and who you want to be when you're in love, instead of throwing up yet another wall around your heart and around everything it takes to be in a loving relationship. And that is an exercise in self-love, which isn't the cliche that everybody makes it out to be. It really is claiming who you are, totally accepting yourself, making the most of what you like about yourself, and working on what you don't like about yourself, and not spinning into some pattern of self-recrimination, self-condemnation, self-criticism, self-hatred. Don't spin into that just because you have things that you want to improve about yourself, or because you're not perfect like anybody is. Nobody is perfect. So you don't have to walk through your life like it's some kind of an apology for being here. You really can embrace yourself, accept yourself, and love yourself totally, just as you are right now. And from that position of wholeness and sanity and serenity and peace of mind, you can walk into a partnership with somebody else and make something beautiful together. You just got to put your ducks in a row. You got to do it in order, and you have to be patient. because it's not going to happen overnight. But it's doable, it's possible. I can assist if you'd like. There are many others who could assist. But if you would like my assistance, DM me. I am creating something right now that's going to really be helpful in that regard, especially after what I saw in the comments with this particular post. It showed me a lot of what's still needed, what people are still struggling with, and what I've worked with many times in the past to just help people love each other the way they really want to once they put down their fears enough to actually do it. The fear never really goes away, by the way. People who are happily in love with each other have a little bit of fear. They don't want to lose each other. They don't want the other person to go away. That's not what they want. And that idea makes them a little bit fearful, but not fearful enough that they refuse to love each other with their whole hearts. Not fearful enough that they turn away an opportunity to be who they are when they're in love. So, if you'd like to know more about that, comments, DM, however you can reach me. And when the product is ready, which should be right around October 1, I'll be back again to let you know about it. It's going to be self-paced and private. Don't worry. Nobody will be watching. But I also have group options and one-on-one options available for those of you who want information and transformation. So, thank you for staying with me tonight. Feel free to share this video. If you found it useful, let me know in the comments what you needed to hear, what you'd like to hear. And thanks again for showing up in this comment string and blowing it up the way you did. It was awesome to watch. The way you guys were answering each other and encouraging each other. I just love my readers. I love my readers. You guys have my heart smiling all the time. So thank you. And thank you for hanging with me tonight. This went so much longer than I wanted it to go, but I just really felt like I needed to cover what you guys talked about. So, yeah. Thanks again for coming. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll be watching the comments and responding. And I'll be watching my DMs too. Okay? Have a great night. Happy Friday Eve. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.